Hey, everyone. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. Let me just check a couple of little things here. Yeah, okay. Looks like we're live. Is everyone hearing me? Can you just let me know in the chat that you are actually able to hear me? Can you hear me? Yes, awesome. Thank you. Well, hey, everyone. Welcome to the very first Music Tech Help Guy live stream. I am going to try to do these every Friday at 6 p.m. You'll be able to submit your tracks some way in advance. Either I'll put out like sort of like a pre-stream video where you can, upload your projects just like you guys all did. A whole bunch of people uploaded their tracks, so that's amazing. And I'd like to keep it that way. So we'll see how this goes in terms of like how well the audio comes through on your end. Maybe we'll convert it over to something that's pre-recorded, or maybe we'll just keep it a live stream. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So the goal here is just to listen to as much music as possible. I will give you my honest critique, without, I'll be fair about it, of course, but, just all constructive criticism here. I don't want anyone to feel like I'm, you know, ripping their piece apart. I always have a saying that I don't tell people what to do. I tell them what I would do. And so that's my goal here, is to listen to your tracks and tell you what I would do. If it was my song, what direction would I go compositionally, mix wise, etc. So let me just share my other screen here so y'all can hear the music. And let's see. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Um, so I've already sorted these in the order I received them, and whoa, 45 tracks. Awesome. Let's check out this very first one. This is Landfillosophy from Abraham Ben Ruby. Let's give this a listen. And also, just I'm going to play it for a bit, and just let me know in the chat if you're able to hear the music. Okay. I really like the vibe on this one. It's very chill. Um, right off the bat, I mean, I like the guitar tones and everything. I love the playing. I like the atmosphere and the sort of vibe to it. The first thing I'm hearing is the drums sound a little repetitive, and they sound a little bit uh too simple, I guess. Um I'm not sure if you were going for like an acoustic drum sound, or it's intentionally like an electric drum sound. If it's intentionally electric drum sound, fine. I would maybe think about adding some fills and just to sort of like bookend your phrases a little bit, and just kind of maybe deviate from that loop a little bit is what I would do. But let's keep going here. How is the level on that? Is it a little soft? I have independent volume control over my voice and the track. Yeah, volume up just a bit. Okay, yeah, I'll pull it up. Um, yeah, I mean, I really love the vibe. Um, it's I want to see maybe a better. What I would do is I would like think of the sections a little differently, like almost like a scene change. Um, if there's phasing, I don't hear phasing on my end. So if you're hearing phasing on your end, it might just be it might be something with the stream. Just so everyone knows, I'm listening on Aventone CLA 10s with a sub, so I'm hearing them exactly as as they come through the same setup I mix on. So, um, but yeah, personally, I would like to see maybe a little bit of a difference between the sections. Like you go from like this sort of like chill introduction, and then it sounds like it's kind of going to another chill introduction, you know what I mean? Like, would kind of want, um, the rhythm or the vibe or the beat to kind of change up, in the next section, so that would be my main criticism here. It doesn't look like it's a fully mastered track, and that's totally fine. You're absolutely welcome to, submit, works in progress. So let's give this a little more listen here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about there. There's almost like a scene change where we move on to something different, but it's not until like halfway through the track where that happens. So I would maybe, front load that a little bit more, bring in that scene change so that we get some flavor, we get something a little different, a little more quickly. So yeah, let's go ahead and listen some more. Yeah, someone mentioned something about reducing tips for reducing ground hum and other noise. Yeah, I can hear there's a little bit of a hum in the background. Um, there's a few things you can do. One, if you're using a DI box, make sure you hit that ground lift. They also make these. Um, they also make these like ground lift, like little XLR. I think they maybe make them for TRS as well, where it's just like a ground. It's essentially it's a ground lift built into like a connector. Um, if you don't have like if for some reason you have a DI box that doesn't have a ground lift, you can actually like open up a mic cable and clip the ground off of one end. Um, the other thing is turn all the lights off. I usually find that lights in a room will add hum and add noise. So often, I usually track in a separate room when I actually use a real amp these days. If you're using like if you're going DI, if 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 I have to make like I have noticed that when I use a DI box, sometimes I get more noise than if I don't use a DI box. Like if I just go straight in through an instrument input. Part of it's also the guitar too. Um, sometimes if you crank your gain a little bit too much on the interface, especially if you're going into an instrument level input, that can bring up the noise as well. DI box stands essentially direct box. It basically a direct box converts line and instrument level signals down to mic level signals. So you can plug a guitar straight into your audio interface if your interface doesn't already have instrument level inputs. People are asking how do you get your music on? There's going to be a link right below where you can submit your music. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So overall, love the vibe, but I feel like it needs to go somewhere. I think it needs to move somewhere else. Maybe even a key maybe not a key change, but like pivot to another chord. Like if you're on the one chord, right? C minor, the key is C. What key is this in? I think it said the key here. F sharp minor. So if you're on the one chord and you're kind of always going back to the one chord, try pivoting away from the one chord in a different section. Go to the 6 or go to the 3 or something. Yeah, more contrast is what I would recommend. Because it's not all about just getting the notes down. Sometimes it's like the textures you create and the energy you create. All right, let's check out Look to the Sky. This is by Gianni. I recognize this guy. Let's give that's an unfinished work in progress. So yeah, let's give this a listen. I I love the loop. I do love that loop. I love those drums, but I think it drags a little bit too long. I think you might be able to cut that intro in half. That's what I would do. I'm guilty of doing the same thing. Like I start like adding layers, I start adding extra things one by one, and I finally get to the point where like it's okay, now we're in the song, and then I realize, oh, I've been doing this for like a minute straight. So you have to kind of balance between like, do you are you composing for yourself or are you composing for an audience? And a lot of times, if you're uh if your intros are too long, people get tuned out. So that's all I'm saying there. So maybe just maybe cut the intro like in half and like get to the point a little bit quicker.
See the clouds drifting by. The clouds.
If the vocals Unless the vocals are meant to be some sort of like a background effect, almost like an ambience, um, I would take down those reverbs like one half. Um, I'm guilty of using way too much reverb sometimes, and yeah, I would I would pull those reverbs down a bit. The other thing I would consider here is once the drums come in, try to get some sort of like a more solid bass line going on. Maybe a bass line that kind of follows a chord progression or has like some more direction to it. Because I again, what I was talking about before, it just feels like a lot of layers, and the layers kind of work, but it doesn't seem to go anywhere. Right? We need to land on something. And I would also recommend, unless it's coming later here, I would also recommend um, sort of settling into a groove, settling into like a solid drum groove, because everything kind of feels like auxiliary. You know what I mean? Everything kind of feels like a fill. Maybe pull back on that and then move into like a drum and bass groove. And Logic's, love them or hate them, Logic session players are really good for that, for fleshing out those sorts of things, and then convert it to MIDI and kind of do your own thing with it. But let's give this a let's keep going here.
The clouds in the sky are like icebergs passing by. It's out of the light, a sea of heroes of fight reach the top of the sky, changing shapes going by. Some shapes you recognize.
Like there's a good vocal part in there, and there are some good vocal harmonies in there for sure. I just think, like I said, going back to before, the drum groove needs to lock in with something that really keeps the time, and the bass line needs to lock in with something that really keeps the time. Because it right now it kind of seems like the musical arrangement is a little scattered. It's kind of coming in, coming out, you know what I mean? And kind of like the previous track, it seems like it's all one vibe. You've established one scene, and then maybe we need to go somewhere else with it. Now it does look like there's something a little bit different coming up here, so I'll just go ahead and listen to that.
They play with the sun, shining rays on everyone. Colors like fire ignite when the sun sets at night.
Yeah, I like the loop again here. It sounds like we're kind of moving into like an instrumental bridge section. I think maybe again more needs to be done here. If you start off kind of soft with that, that auxiliary percussion loop, then move into like a verse chorus type of um arrangement, and then back off to a bridge, I think it would work. But again, I think like the first thing I said is you need, I think you really need to settle into some sort of like a drum and bass groove that moves the composition forward. Yeah, some people are saying that the audio quality is a little weird. I'm not. I'm not so sure what I can do on my end with that. So if it, I'll rewatch the upload of this, and if it's an issue, maybe we can do this as a pre-recorded thing instead of live. But on my end, the audio sounds great. Uh, I apologize if it doesn't sound so great on your end. Okay, let's check out another one here. And I am going to, I don't know if I said this before. I see some people uploaded multiples. Just for time's sake, I will listen to at least one. But I may have to hold off on the other ones until another week. All right, so we have Credence by ZR. That's just yeah, by ZR, and it says me. Okay, we'll see what this one sounds like. Yeah, I mean, I like the sounds. I like, I'm a sucker for distortion. Um, I do like the intro here. I do like the false like build up you have. There's like a false build up, and then it builds up some more. That's really cool. This little gap here is perfect. I mean, I knew it was going to be there. What I would do here differently is maybe a little bit of something different in the bass. Let's give that a listen one more time here. Maybe right there, move to a bass that isn't like, because it's got this sort of dubsteppy kind of bass sound to it, right? Um, I would maybe move to something else. Again, kind of like with the other examples, like like move to a different note, move to a different tonic note. You know what I mean? If the song is in this is C sharp major, I don't think it's C sharp major. I think that's auto generated. But um, if it's C sharp minor, for example, and your bass is just riding on C sharp the whole time, you got to move somewhere else. You know, if you're on C sharp, you could move down to the sixth chord, which should be A. You could move down to A and then maybe move to the 3 chord, which would be like E, and then, find some different, even if you're not writing a chord progression per se, try to move the bass around because that's, ultimately what's gonna give the song some more movement and motion. And I don't know if vocals are gonna go on this or not either, so that would be, another big, factor there. So, yeah, love this break here and maybe change up the dub bass a little bit. Move to some other root notes. There we go. Um, yeah, and it looks like it's a work in progress. So yeah, a good start. Really liking the intro. Um, Maybe a little long, but again, it's personal preference. Depending on certain genres, it's totally normal to see a big long intro like that. Um, let's go to another one here. Let's go to Synthephonic by Paul. Oh, this one looks like it's been mixed. Just looking at the waveform there. So let's give this one a listen. I'm going to pull down the volume a little bit, maybe, so I don't distort my mixer here. Whoops, I'm on the wrong track. Yeah, this is great. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about with, if you're going to do a long intro, you you add to it, you add little flavors here and there, you know what I mean? It's like, when I was in college, I did like band scoring and orchestral scoring, and I later got into electronic music well, I was always into rock music before I was in a band and everything, but one of the things I learned from orchestral scoring and wind band scoring and writing chamber music was that not every instrument has to be on all at the same time. Not every track has to have something going on all the time. If you kind of let little layers kind of come and go, and there's like these little synth stabs just coming here and there, and that's really great. That's what keeps the listener's attention when you have a long intro like this. So yeah, just absolutely love the intro so far. But let's give a little more a listen here. I mean, that sounds like a track that's like ready to go for vocals. Or if if it's meant to be an instrumental, it's like ready to go to distribution. Yeah, I mean, this is really fantastic in terms of like the not just the composition, not just the beat, not just the arrangement and kind of like the ups and downs of it all, but also in the sound design. Like every single instrument I can tell has some sort of like a filter effect. Even like in the intro, it was really subtle and you probably couldn't hear it on the stream very well, but the low end gets filtered out, filtered out, filtered out, filtered out, and then as soon as the main beat hits, the bass is fully back in. I mean, these are like like you could go in, you can audit, like if you wanted to do this with a whole group of instruments, you could stick them in a track stack or a bus and then just automate that filter just slowly over 8 bars, 12 bars, 16 bars, and just scoop out more and more of that bottom end. And as soon as the beat comes back in, drop the filter back down to 20 hertz. It's a really, really effective, and there's a lot of really great sound design in here. Oh, you got me here. I love these like little 80s arpeggiators. Uh yeah, love the arps here. I'm a sucker for 80s music, so I love those like synth wavy 80s sounds. And again, it's sort of like we went into one section here, tailing off, texturally too and instrumentally, and then I can tell we're going to build back up into it again here. Yeah, that was fantastic. You got me because I figured it's going to be here, and then no, we're going to delay it one more, two more beats or one more bar. So yeah, super effective. Like just delaying the resolution of the track. That's really, really, really great work here. Um, Only criticism on this track: the mix sounds great on my end. Um, if you're gonna add vocals to it, great. If you're not going to add vocals to it, maybe think of some more melodic ideas that can go on it because in some of these sections, you know, there's not like a melodic idea there, and it doesn't have to be like a big flowing melody. It could be something that's a little more, just here and there, just to kind of something to sing to, you know what I mean? I know it's more dance music, but if you can dance to it and then you can also feel like you can sing the melody, I think it gives it like a whole other, takes it to a whole other level. So yeah, that's fantastic. Let's check out another. Let's go down to, let's see. I think this person 90 Fitty. I'm gonna check out Heatwave X. And then if you want to resubmit my bag next week, go for it. Let's see here. Okay, this one looks like it's pretty healthy. Looking to add a better flow with the chorus, bridge, and outro. All right, let's give it a. So this is a work in progress. It's only a minute 47. So let's give this a shot.
Heatwave, one shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. Cause you hit me like a heat wave, one shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. Cause you heal me just right. Heal me just right. Heal me just
A couple things in the very intro here. There's like a little keyboard thing going on, and it sounds like parallel harmonies. I'm not saying, I'm not Bach. I'm not going to say don't use parallel fifths or fourths or anything like that. But um, I feel like maybe if I don't know if that was a loop or if that was like a part you played in. If it's a part you played in, check and see if all of those notes are in the right key. Because let me listen to that one more time in the intro there. Yeah, it's got like a dum dum da da dum dun da da da. It's like at that second one and then the third one, they sound off to me. They don't like especially if you're trying to establish the key of the song a little better there, like just establishing like what key you're going into. I would check and make sure that those notes are like quantized to the correct key because they don't sound like they're in heart they don't sound like they're in the key. They sound like you took something and then moved it down and then shifted it down again because those harmonies will change depending on what notes you're on. Rest of the track sounds really cool. I was just if you see me like reaching over here, that just means I'm checking it out in mono just to check out the mono compatibility, which I don't think you guys are hearing in stereo on your end.
one shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days, make those days right now. Cause you hit me like a heat wave. One shook me like an earthquake. Reminiscing better days.
I like the vocal. I think it needs to come up in the mix, like more way on top. I think it needs some more character too. If you're a Logic user and you've got Chromaverb, try out Chromaverb. Try out anything to maybe saturate that vocal a little bit to make it sound a little more sultry sounding, if that makes any sense. I'd maybe try adding just a touch of reverb to it. And then I would also like, I don't know, just try to do something that gives it a little more character. I guess that like a little saturation. Like one of the things I do on pretty much every vocal I do is like it's like EQ, like LA2A compression, a little bit of saturation, and then there'll be like a second level of FET compression. And that's usually like the bulk of my vocal chain, but it's crazy how much something like Chroma Glow or other saturation plugins can really take something and just give it that little extra vibe to it. I would maybe think about doing something like that, or even like do like a short slap delay or something on the vocal, just something to give it like a bit of a character, a bit more character there. But otherwise, I do like the vocal there.
Make those days right now. Cause you heal me just right. Heal me just right. Heal me just right.
I really like that motive. Um, do something more with that motive. And then the only other kind of like just arrangement thing I would do is I'd back off on some of these little effects. I think that maybe the effects are a little too are a bit too much. I'd like to see less of that those. They, maybe use them just a little more sparsely. Just use them here and there. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Let's see. So we listened to Heatwave. This one from Lee Everlong. Is this a cover? Let's see here. Let's give it a listen. Looks like it's mixed, healthy waveform there.
Hello, I've waited for you. Everlong. Tonight, I throw myself into and out of her head, out of her head, she's saying. Calm down and waste away with me.
I'm not a fan of the drum sound. It sounds a little too crispy to me on my end. Um, I I'd like to see maybe a little like maybe dial back the effects on the voice like I don't know, 30% if you're using some like vocal tuning, maybe even dial that back a little bit too. I don't know if it says demo SS contest, so I don't know if this is if you're supposed to be as close to the Foo Fighters version or if it's supposed to be your own original thing. I would, yeah, I'm not a fan of the drum sound. The balance is fine. The vocals are okay. Like I said, I would dial back maybe the time based effects and the tuning a little bit. Um, and then the guitars, I was checking it in mono, and there's not much width or spread to it. You know what I mean? So I don't know if this is double tracked. Usually, what I do is I double track all of my guitar parts left and right, or at least the rhythm parts I do. Um, and if you want it to even be mono compatible, I've often done a center part that's really low in the mix. So when you listen to it in mono, even if the left and right guitars kind of fall apart, the middle one still comes through. I wasn't hearing much of a difference at all when I was checking it in mono. So I'm thinking that maybe it was just single tracked. Maybe add another rhythm track. And if there is another rhythm track there, like panned right, pan them left and right. Um, if you're doing any sort of like time correction on the guitar, don't perfectly align every single note in the guitar parts because sometimes it's that slight variation that creates the stereo effect. And if your left and right content is too much in alignment, often when that's converted down to mono, you get more phase cancellation because all the transients are in the same place. All the rhythms are like exactly in the same place. So maybe add a second guitar. Not a huge fan of the drum sound. I'd say a little bit more bass as well.
Down with me. So how you wanted it to be. I'm over my head, out of her head, she's saying. And I wonder when I sing along with you. If everything could ever feel this real forever. If anything could ever feel this good again. The only thing
Yeah, I just checked it again. Just checked the mono compatibility just to kind of um, see how those left and right guitars are working with each other. I think there's just one guitar part there. So yeah, definitely double track your rhythm guitars. It makes a world of difference. Maybe even three track them and put one in the center and kind of pull it down in the mix. What I like to do, especially with rock stuff, is often what I'll end up getting is a guitar part that's got the gain cranked to like 8 or 9, and if it's just a single guitar part, I'll ask the client, "Hey, can you track another rhythm guitar part?" I throw that in there, and I use the same amp setting, but I dial back the gain a bit more. So, like, if you've got two rhythm parts, left and right panned a bit, you can afford to kind of crank back the gain to the 6 or 7 or something a little closer to crunch and a little not quite overdrive or distortion, and the sort of combined drive of those two tracks will sort of add up and create a fuller sound. Not to mention when I'm mixing too, I'm like um, when I'm mixing, I'm adding saturation as well. So that also kind of brings up those drive levels as well. All right, let's move down to, let's see, RF. We've got Desert Mirage version 2 ongoing from Zap. Let's give this a listen.
Beneath the stars and desert skies, caravans of gold, luxury defines. Mirages dance, oasis of light. Welcome to the paradise in endless night. Glittering shores against the tide. Steel gardens rise in pride, they shine. When you land here, skyscrapers glow, shimmering vision. Sands whisper tales of ambition. I stepped into the heat, the night, beneath the palms where dreams ignite. The pulse is deep, the beat surrounds. Under starry skies, the city thrives, where the future's born beneath the desert lights. Exotic breeze, the rhythm binds. In this oasis, where your heart unwinds.
I'll tell you something similar to the last one. Um, Maybe try dialing back the effects on the vocal just a little bit. And like I get this way too. I'm OCD about some things, and then I'm like a slob about other things. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to like cleaning up my office, I'm a slob. But when it comes to like vocal production, I get like obsessed with it. Like I'll have like mix version 7, and I'm like, the vocal's not perfect yet. It's not perfect yet. It's not perfect yet. And a lot of times what I find is I start adding all these things, and I add too many plugins and I add too many things, and I'm like, now it just sounds bad because I added too much shit to it. Um, Sometimes it helps to kind of take a step back, maybe not necessarily removing effects, but dialing them back a bit. I would dial back the effects a little bit. I get it in a song like this, like the sort of vocal tune sound is part of the sound design of the song. So I totally get that. I'm not opposed to that, but maybe dial back that a bit, but then maybe insert a little more saturation on the vocal, especially in this like this middle section here. Um, when you dial up the saturation, sometimes it like brings up the breathiness, like the air almost. And I don't mean like breathy as like physical air, but like the top end. So maybe bring up the top end a little bit, a little more saturation in the vocals. The track sounds good. And my only other suggestion in the intro here is instead of just a volume fade in, um, this is like again, this is not like if you prefer a volume fade, go for it. But try a filter fade sometimes. What I'll do is I'll throw a like a just a channel EQ on the master bus, or I'll throw it on like a, a summing stack that has all the instruments in it, and I'll like pull the top uh filter, the low pass filter all the way down, not all the way down, but very much down, and then I'll pull the low cut, the high pass filter up a little bit. So I've just got this little band of frequencies, and then slowly over those first 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars, open it up with automation. And then when the track drops in, you're fully open. So you're creating like a band pass that sort of opens up. So I don't know, try it out. If you like it the way it is, it still sounds good. So let's listen a little bit more here.
Feel the vibe rise on Arabian Nights as the skyline calls in its grandeur invites. Undersized skies, the sea thrives, where the future's born. Undersized skies, the sea thrives.
Right there, I would add something to just kind of accent that downbeat, like a noise crash or a cymbal crash or something, just something to give that some impact, because it's sort of like a build up here, and then it comes in, but it's kind of anticlimactic. You know what I mean? It doesn't really hit. So let me just say, add something like a cymbal or a noise crash to accent a bit, but otherwise good. Yeah, the mix sounds good on my end. Monocompatibility is good. Yeah, mixes sound good on my end. Let's hop down to another one. Let me check the chat here. Paul Kim, thank you, man, for the $25. You didn't have to do that. I'm so happy to hear that you think the channel is the best one on music production by far. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see. A couple of people asking, how do you upload? You can upload in the link below. I don't know that I'll get to all of them today because there's a ton of them in there, but if you want to resubmit for next week, you can. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's check out another one. So that was, where were we? We were down here. That was Desert Mirage. Listen Like You Care, Kenneth Roberts. Let's give this a shot here. You already got me. You already got me with the 80s vibe and the 1, 7, 5, 6 chord progression in a minor key. You already got me. Got my attention.
Lie in bed with my head on your chest, no rest, I dream of leaving. Touch my head while you stare up at the ceiling. Can you feel me breathing? I'll spread my little wings. I'll spread my wings. I could talk to you for hours if you'll listen like you care. Come and wrap your scarf around me. This way you'll always be there.
I love this vocal character. This singer reminds me, I'm sure it's not her, but this singer reminds me of an artist I worked with years ago. She goes by Elaine Amelia on her socials and stuff. I think I mastered one of her albums. She's got a very, very unique and I don't know how to call it, a very colorful voice, like this singer. One thing I would do to maybe even accentuate that a little bit more top end, a little more saturation. I would even say maybe a little more reverb, maybe in this case, dial in some more of those effects instead of less. The track's good. She's pretty, a little bit, maybe a little high in the mix for my taste, but it's, it's still, it works. So.
starlight smile makes you wild, jealous child inside. You know I'm leaving. You declare it's not fair. I don't care or share the pain you're feeling. I'll spread my little wings. I'll spread my wings.
Yeah, really great melodic motives here, like really good melody writing. It's very easy to get wrapped up in the beat and the sound design and the instrumental. I do it all the time, and then I sometimes I don't leave enough space. Like I'll start working on a track and then I'm like, okay, I already got 60 tracks here and I haven't even recorded a vocal yet. And I'm like, you throw the vocal in there and then you're like, there's a little too much in the mix here. So I think this is doing a really fantastic job of using a little bit more of a pared back instrumentation, um, while leaving room for that vocal.
One day I'll become a butterfly. Good thoughts around me. Jealous child. One day I'll become.
I was just checking there to see if that bass line idea was in here earlier. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I was talking about scene changes earlier. Like, we go from this kind of smoother bass to this more rhythmic, accented bass. It just changes up the flow a little bit and just keeps the listener's attention. So yeah, that's a great example of that.
One day I'll become a butterfly. Daddy saves me when he hears me cry. I could talk to you for hours if you'll listen like you care. Come and wrap your arms around me. This way you'll always. I could talk to you for hours if you'll listen like you care.
Yeah, fantastic. I love the sound of that. It's not going overboard on the production and the arrangement, but it's also, it's got a great vocal melody to it. It's got a hook to it. It's got scene changes. So yeah, great work. More don't be afraid to saturate the musical arrangement a little bit, There's there's something about those old 80s arrangements that has like charm to it, but I kind of like the idea of like an 80s instrumentation with a little more flair to it, with a little more body to it, a little bit more saturation to it. So if you can't tell, I'm going to probably suggest saturation on on half of the things in here. I'm also a sucker for distortion and saturation. I think probably the worst thing a client can tell me is they want to hear something they want something to be completely clean. Like when a client tells me, I just want it to be super clean, it's like my heart sinks when I hear that. No, I love saturation and drive. To me, it just adds more character and body to it. And it doesn't have to be like analog gear or analog saturation. It could be a plugin, I like that kind of stuff. All right, next, let's check out Songtember 4 MST from Last Colt or LA. Let's give it a listen.
Look, it's fall and the leaves are red. I am leaving. Watch me to do something else now. I want to travel around the world. Watch me now.
So the main thing I'm hearing, like in the vocal here, is I want to hear less of the low voice and more of the top voice. Even if you don't necessarily like pull the low voice down in the mix, maybe try filtering out some of the bottom end a little bit. Definitely a little more top end in the vocals, just for clarity's sake. Um, the the thing about the male voice that's really like lower male voices is sometimes the low notes will cross with like elements in your arrangement. You know what I mean? Like some of the notes in the guitar, or even some of the notes in the bass, might cross the like a low vocal, like a male vocal. So what I'll often do is I'll filter out the male vocal a little bit, just to kind of leave a little bit of extra room for those low instruments to come through down there. Another thing I would do in this section at some point is change up the bass groove a little bit, because it's getting a little bit samey, and so I would like maybe do something a little bit more rhythmic. I always like the bass to follow the kick drum, so often even if I come up with a bass line, I'm like, oh, that sounds really cool, but the drums are really basic. I'll often add in extra kicks to have the kick sort of match up with the groove of the bass. Mix is okay. I'd like it a little bit more present, a little more saturated. Um, uh, Mono compatibility is good. I can tell what you're doing is you got like keyboards on one side and guitars on another side. I think maybe there's guitar on the other side as well. But let's keep going here.
I am leaving. Watch me now as I cry my eyes. Watch me now. I leave right now. Let my eyes see all things behind.
Yeah, definitely if your vocal is more this like kind of flowing legato thing, that's totally fine, but give it a little more character. Give it some more character in the mix. Maybe even double track some of those upper parts. A trick I've always used when I want like a single vocal to sound like more vocals, and this is like an old recording trick, is I'll have the lead vocal up the center, like whatever the best take of the vocal is up the center. Then have then have your singer do double that left and right, but don't have them sing the same thing. Have them maybe use a little more of their falsetto voice if they can, and then maybe do two more that are like really far left and right that are like purely falsetto. Or maybe if the singer can do up an octave or down an octave, or if they're really good, they can do harmonies and things like that too. But I like just layering multiple vocals like that, because sometimes you can sing like four, you know, falsetto voices on either side of the lead, and it will sound like 10 people, and not like a chant, not like a choir. It's more of like a thickening effect, especially if you go in and you align those vocal parts. And then the low male vocal, I would generally just kind of keep in the center. So I like when I think of like vocal production and like my vocal mix, I think of it as like a T. You're like not a T, a V. So it comes down here with the more bass bottom parts in the center, and as the vocal part gets higher in its register, I kind of start panning things a little bit more and a little bit more, but the lead vocal is still going to be right up the center. So yeah, needs a little work, but yeah, that's it. It's a good start. Let's check out another here. Let's move down to, let's see, songtember we did. Love Bombs. Love Bombs. Let's do Love Bombs. Love Bombs by Silver Factory Superstars.
Love bombs. Love bombs. Love bombs.
When you're with me, I can't take it anymore. My first thought is to walk right out the door. I feel all the pressure building up inside. Just step back, hold up before our worlds collide. I just need some time to figure out what's on your mind. 'Cause she throwing the ball. You keep throwing the ball.
Love.
Okay, I would maybe only use the Love Bomb sample like once or twice in the beginning. And then for the vocal, like the vocal has has a pretty good performance. Everything's in tune. It's got, it's got a good melody, but I think again it needs some enhancements. I think it really needs some fine tuning. And just to give you guys like a reference, like when I work on a mix for a client or I work on one of my own songs, um, often what I'll do, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'll probably spend 20% of my time editing and cleaning up the edits from the client. I'll spend like 40%, 30%, 35% of my time dialing in the instrumental mix. And then I spend like the remaining, was it 45%? I don't know if my math adds up there. The remaining 45% of my time just dialing in the vocals. And I go in and I do a mix revision, listen to it on earbuds, listen to it in the car, listen to it everywhere, and then make a revision, enhance it a little bit more, maybe dial back the effects a bit. This is one where I think more effects is better. I don't mean just dropping more plugins. I mean a little stronger compression, a little more saturation. And if you're a Logic user and you use like the stock Logic compressor, if you take there's like a drive knob, like a distortion knob, and it's like off, soft, hard, and clip. Put that on soft, and you'll see it adds like a little more texture, a little more vibe, a little more mojo to the vocals. I'd also maybe think about using 2 stages of compression, but then maybe parallel, like mixing them in parallel a little bit. So you put like an LA2 optical style compressor on there. Maybe make the mix blend like 70% compressed, 30% dry. Add whatever you want to add in between the compressors, like maybe some saturation, and then add another like FET style compressor, like 50/50 on the mix blend. And that just, I've always found that 2 stages of compression sounds better than one, and also using 2 different types of compression sounds better than one. So on the lead vocal here, I would say a little more attention to detail on the EQ and compression. I'm not even saying add more time-based effects or anything like that. Just maybe dial in the EQ and compression a little bit more, and I think that'll help you out a bunch. I do love the backing vocals here. Maybe do the same thing with those. Give them some more body. Maybe even add some more if you can. Add a couple more layers. And then, yeah, like I said before, maybe only use the Love Bomb sample like once or twice in the song.
When you're not here, I hate to be apart. Conflicted feelings falling at my heart. I still want you, you're all I think about. But I push back, close off, I'm cursed with all the doubts.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you're like it's got the drum kit really has like an 80s like electro type sound to it. If you're looking for an electronic drum sound, then fine. But like on those little dun 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 dun, like that's a perfect spot for like like some cymbal crashes that are choked or something, just to kind of accent those a little bit harder. So I don't know, maybe think about a different drum kit, like a more acoustic sounding drum kit, if that's what you're going for. But if you are going for an electronic sound, I do get it, but maybe just something more there to accent that part.
I just need some time to figure out what's on your mind. Cause she throwing the ball.
Yeah, like this part's really cool. I really like this. So maybe try to find a way to dial back the dynamic in like I guess what it would be the verses, and then that section, if that's like the chorus or something, um, then come up to the full production there. So maybe try to play around with some dynamics. It kind of sounds like a song that was recorded but not mixed, if I'm being honest. So maybe just focus a little bit more on the mix, especially the vocal production, and you'll get there. Okay, let's check out another. We were on Love Bombs. Okay, so we've got Cliff Denotes has 4 different tracks. I am just going to grab the very first one here. I'm sorry. I'm gonna either go to 2 hours. If you're wondering, I'm probably gonna either go to 2 hours, or I'm going to or until I'm done. So let's give this a listen. If as master V1. I'm sure there'll be a V2 and a V3 and a V7. Yeah, in the intro, I like all the cool textural things. I'm here like I like how it delays the beat. Like you feel like you're locking onto one beat, but then like something else happens, and you're like, oh, maybe that's a different groove. Oh no, that's this groove. So I do like that. I think maybe there's a little too many noise crashes in the beginning. That's just my personal preference. I like to save those just for like the downbeats, or maybe every 4 bars, or use them as a swell. Yeah, so let's keep going though. if this one's gonna have vocals, I would say it's pretty much ready for vocals. Um, the just like little nitpicky things like that little top synth that's that little rhythmic synth that's on the top. It sounds kind of like a sine wave. Maybe try something with a little more bite to it, a little more grit to it on the top end there. Um, I don't know what it is. I don't like the sound of like sine wave synths because it just to me it sounds like a test tone. I like the idea, but maybe something with a little more grit in there. I like the mix. The mix sounds great. Mono compatibility is good. Um, I really love the chord progression you're going with. I would say maybe somewhere in this section. I know you're doing like a build up, and then I think it's section A, B, and then probably we're going to get to a breakdown here. Um, I would maybe try something out in the middle here just to kind of just to break it up a little bit, just break up the monotony a little bit. You know what I mean? And if you're gonna have vocals on this, you're pretty much ready to go for vocals. But if not, again, maybe some sort of a melodic idea. You know what I mean? Something to sing to, something a melody to remember. You know. That like upper synth there, I would take that out in this section or just pull it way down and that kind of gritty, I don't know what to call it. It's the synth that's on the top there. I'd either pull it way down in the mix and then add like another chord layer or even like a piano layer for that breakdown, just something to kind of take it away from the previous section. I think that top synth is just it's a little much. It's a little too out front there. You know, it's not I for like the breakdown, I want the energy to kind of come down, right? And it feels like that one instrument's like doing its own thing. Um, a little too thought, no, a little too hot in the mix. There we go. Yeah, really cool track. I love the vibe. I love the kind of chill, like the kind of chill vibe. Um, personally, if it was me, I would like some sort of like a clap or a snare or a snap or something. But I totally understand if adding a snare on 2 and 4 changes the whole vibe of the song. And if you're going for like a chill vibe, then it totally makes sense. Yeah, just some like arrangement things, just some like bring in a few things down the mix. Again, if this is a song that's going to go for vocals, you're pretty much where you need to be there. And again, just maybe dial back those effects, those like sweeping and noise effects. They're nice, but sometimes I feel like they get overused a little bit. So all right, let's move on here. So we were here on if as, and then we're going to go to I Yes Not from E Soon Take. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I've seen your name in the chat before. I'm so sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Cool. Let's give this one a listen. It's a finished track and it's titled I Yes Not. Yeah. Oop, sorry. A little feedback there. Yeah, really great. I like this transition. So we come in here to, the beat's really solid, bass line's really solid. One little thing I would maybe try in the intro, you don't even have to do it for the whole piano part, but the piano part seems a little muted to me. It seems a little, maybe a little more high end in the piano, or maybe try a different piano patch that's a little brighter. And then in the intro, on those little initial little piano motives, I would almost maybe add a little bit of like a ghostly delay, like throw like the tape delay on it, or even you can do it old school and just convert to audio, drag it down to another track, shift it over by like, you know, a beat or two beats, and then filter it as like an echo, and then you could even have those echoes pan left and right. Just a little something to think about. That's initially what was going through my mind as I was hearing the intro there. Good transition. Let's back it up a little bit and keep going. There's one little note, like right here. There's something that's off there with like the whatever the bass is playing. It's not. I don't know. Maybe try a different bass note there. And it's throughout the whole song. It's not just that one section, but otherwise, like really good transitions, really good like bringing in these melodic motives. If this is a track that's going to have vocals on it, awesome. You may have to pare back some of that arrangement, but the melodic ideas are what fill the space in between sections and give you something to sing to and something to remember. So that's all good. Let's keep going. Oh, also one quick thing. Mono compatibility is pretty good, but some of the side synths, maybe try using if you're a Logic user, try using stereo pan and narrow those a little bit so the localization's a little more focused, then pan them left and right. That'll give you a little bit better compatibility when you listen in mono. You know what this track needs? Because it's kind of got a drum and bass vibe to it. Um, it needs like the funky drummer sample or something similar to that, like in the big sections. Just a little. It doesn't even have to be loud in the mix. Just pull it back and just have a little bit more background rhythm. Or if you don't want to use like a sample, if you don't want to use like the funky drummer, just look up funky drummer sample. It's like one of the most sampled, drum loops in history. Find something maybe similar to that. Um, that gives it maybe some 16th note motion in the background. You know what I mean? Almost like when you add like a shaker or like a tambourine behind a drum kit, it just kind of drives everything forward. Fantastic transition. Yeah. So like the arrangement there is not, I mean, the arrangement's thinned a little bit, but what he's done, I'm assuming it's a he. I'm not sure. What they have done is they've tapered down the filter and you're sort of bottlenecking the frequencies that you can have there, and then slowly bringing them back in. And then right before the main beat comes back in, you really hit the, really open up the filters. You can just do like an exponential shape. So it kind of is flat most of it. And at the very end, it shoots up. So it's a really effective way to take something that's, it takes something and change it up, and also create like movement, and create a transition into the next section without having to like compose anything new. You're just automating a filter to open up. Yeah, sorry. Fantastic work. Really like the track. Maybe a little more bass. Bass seems with my sub, it's um I've got my sub set to where I normally have it for mixing. So I would say a little bit more bass, even maybe a little more drive on the bass, like mid top end in the bass. So let's say little more mid top end in the bass, and then maybe up, you know, 3 dB or 6, 3 to 6 dB, somewhere in there. Bass is like one of the hardest things to get right when you're like just about every time I finish a project, like I'll listen to it on speakers, listen to it on headphones, I'll listen to it on earbuds, and it's like the bass is either too loud or it's too soft. I've had a couple mixes in my lifetime where I go back and listen to it, and I'm like, God, what was I thinking with the bass there? And you have to be careful if you've got a sub. Sometimes if your sub is cranked too much, it gives you this false sense of bass that's not really in your mix. So like what I do, well, most subs have like a foot, you can hook like a foot switch up to them to turn them on and off. I just have like a button on my monitor controller that turns it on and off, so I can kind of, so when I'm reaching over here like that, I'm checking the bass, I'm checking the mono compatibility. Oh, hey, I see Jake is in the chat. What's up, Jake? A good friend Jake in the chat. Thanks for coming. All right. Yeah, great work. Great work. Couple of little mix things. The faster percussion, very good product. Very good, very good track. All right, let's check out another one. Let's see. All right, so we got two here from Tony Lee. Let's do Summer You'll Find Me. Alternative country. We got a bit of a genre change up here. Let's give it a listen.
Somewhere there's a picture of two lovers gone their separate ways. Somewhere there's a boy who holds it, thinking back about the days when everything was happy and the two of them were one. But now the one is two again, and one of them is gone. Somewhere there's a heart that's breaking, somewhere there's a tearful eye, somewhere there's a boy who's lonely since his lady said goodbye. You will not need a highwayman to see where this might be. Just look around, it's somewhere you'll find me.
Good melody, good performance. A couple things I would think about. I would think about what your end result is here. Are you looking for like a more of a like a modern alternative country type sound, or are you looking for something that's a little more vintage? I I actually love old country music. It's like I'm not a huge country fan overall, but like I like the old like the classics, like 70s country and 80s country. I love that kind of stuff. Um, if that's what you're trying to do, like a throwback to that, then I would just say maybe like a little more top end in the vocals. Try doubling the left and right rhythm guitars because in mono it doesn't sound like I'm losing anything. Like everything's pretty much straight up the center, and so like some of those picked like arpeggios, like if you can play them twice and pan them, that'll create a whole new dimension for you. It'll also leave a hole in the center for your vocals to come through. I don't dislike the old mic, the old timey mic effect. It works. It kind of gives it like an old western movie kind of vibe to it. If that's what you're going for and that's intentional, totally fine. But if you're going for like a more modern alt country sound, I would take that old timey mic sound off. Or maybe maybe you're using a dynamic mic to record. If that's the case, you're gonna have to really bring up the top and mid range a little bit more to compensate. But even regardless of whether you're going for that old timey mic sound or not, I would enhance the top end on the vocals because like really your like 1 to 5 kilohertz range is where the diction of your voice comes through. That's where like the bulk of like the intelligibility of the vocal comes from, and then the air kind of helps with the sibilance and just giving it a vibe. So I would focus on the top end a little bit on those vocals and get the clarity up a little bit in the mix. Maybe pull back the if there's like a chorus on the guitar, maybe pull back the chorus on those guitar parts because it's sounding a little bit almost like the chorus is detuning a little bit too much. Um, and if you double those parts, it'll probably completely mask that altogether. You'll probably get a natural chorus just from having left and right guitars instead of a single guitar up the center. But I think that little chorus effect is maybe a little too much. And I'd like to maybe hear I know it's like a more of a clean sound, but a little more drive on the guitar parts. Not even necessarily on the amp. You don't necessarily have to turn the amp up more. Just maybe add a little more saturation and double it, and then maybe dial back the chorus, and the chorus will kind of still be there since you're doubling the parts.
Somewhere there's a bottle on the table in a bar downtown. Somewhere someone swallows hard and tries to pull the memories down. The desperation rushes back when he wakes up alone and realizes she's not there and he is on his own. Somewhere there's a heart that's breaking. Somewhere there's a tearful eye. Somewhere there's a boy who's lonely since his late.
Yeah, on those high notes, we're getting a little bit too much of that 1 to 5K range, and I think it comes down to that kind of old timey mic effect, and it kind of hurts the ear a little bit. And it's if you're not aware of this, the reason why the intelligibility in the vocal is 1 to 5K is where it's most present is because that's the frequencies that our ears hear the best, 1 to 5K. So you have to be careful that there's not too much in that range, but also that there's enough, just for clarity's sake. One other quick like mix thing, I would say a little more kick and snare in the bass. It's going to lock in the groove, or not in the bass, kick and snare in the drums. It's going to help lock in the groove, and I think it's going to tighten everything up a bit more. So yeah, good performance, good song. I would say maybe the mix just needs a little work, and maybe try doubling up those guitar parts a little bit. You're saying that yeah, the mix yeah, it's the the stream's coming through the mic. Yeah, it's not that the stream audio is coming through my mic, it's that the stream audio, I think YouTube converts it down to mono. So we can talk about, remedies for that, or I can figure out a remedy for that later if it's even possible. Um, but yeah, you're hearing just basically a feed from my mixer. So um, let's try another one. Let's do another. Let's see. Cliff, I already got you. Sorry. Try submitting some of these for next week. Stellar Stomp by 90 Fitty. Didn't we listen to 90 Fitty? Yeah, we did. I thought we did. Maybe we didn't. I thought we did. Anyway, let's try out Stellar Stomp by 90 Fitty. Oh, you know what? Did we? I don't know. Let's give it a listen. Okay, you can't use that loop. It's got the like 80s electro vibe, but that boom 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 loop, that loop has been used way too much. I could pick it out in most songs. I don't know. Maybe think about using it as a starting point, and insert your own bass part there that's got a similar rhythm to it, but maybe a little different character to it. But I can pick that mix out of any song. Yeah, like right in there, we get to a part where like there's certain notes that are just not in key. I would if you're using loops that are not MIDI loops, I would think of them as like maybe a template, for creating your own part, and then try to, recreate the loop with MIDI, but kind of add your own swing to it. If it's a MIDI loop, or if it's like a pattern loop or a drummer loop or whatever it may be, or session player loop, convert it to MIDI and then go in and kind of do your own thing with it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've started with a loop on a song, and then by the end of the production, I'm not, yeah, I'm not like by the end of the production, the loop is no longer there, or it's been so heavily modified that you can't even tell that it's there. So I would maybe focus on taking some of these loop ideas and inserting your own ideas, and maybe using it as like a template, or like a hold it, to hold that spot and kind of give you an idea, but then go back in and retool some of those ideas to be a little more original. That part sounds cool. I like that. Boom, 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 boom. I almost feel like we need to get there sooner. You know what I mean? Like maybe shorten the intro, and then whatever this section is, verse, or maybe cut that in half and get to that bass line. Boom, 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 because it really starts to establish the key a little bit better. That initial bass loop that I pointed out doesn't really establish the key at all. The bass line is really what establishes the key, along with any chords you have. But the bass, that solid foundation, that first one chord that comes in, or that first tonic note. This little transition here is a little rough to me. It's a little anticlimactic. I would maybe add like a crash or something right on that transition, um, just to kind of accent it. You know what I mean? Just to signal that hey, we're going from this section to a breakdown, and then we're going to jump into another section here. We're just sort of taking down the energy a little bit. So look, I'm a sucker for key changes. I mean, I love a song with a major second key change in the last chorus, but I think there's still a lot of notes in here that are out of key, and they're pulling us away from feeling the intended key of the song. Like I can tell from where the bass is what key you're trying to be in, but some of these other notes are just not lining up, and maybe it's an issue of you're using loops together that don't fit, which is surprisingly harder to do than you may think. But I would think about again going back in and taking some of those loop ideas and rebuilding them as your own MIDI ideas, and then you have full control over what key you're in, and what these harmonies sound like. Um, okay, needs a little work. That one needs a little work. I think we did listen to another one from 1950. Let's go to Sneaky. I'm not even going to try to say that, but Sneaky with a Z. What's up? Let's produced, mixed, and mastered. Awesome. Let's give this a listen.
Ya no queda res. De tot el que t'amagava, ja no queda temps per reviure la pel·lícula i correm pels carrers. Les coses que t'he promès buscar més d'un per què, que ja no queda res. Ja no queda res i ja no vull res més amb tu. Amb tu. Totes les nits que porto cap per avall, totes les tardes que no podia ni respirar, però això no m'importa si se'm tanca una porta. Ja no m'importa si se'm tanca una porta. Sento que l'habitació se'm fa petita, castigat en una gàbia molt bonica. Veig les parets caient a terra mica en mica. Tot això no hauria canviat tot i que haguéssim volgut. I sé que es fa tan dur, tot i que haguéssim volgut. Tan dur. Però em quedo amb el que m'ha pres i els contes que acaben bé i els llocs i els viatges, les llargues nits i les tardes. I el temps cura, ja sabem que els dos vam fer suficient ni l'un més que l'altre, tot i que sembla un desastre. Ja no queda res de tot el que t'amagava, ja no queda.
Yeah, I like the melodies. I really like the melodies. I like the energy. It's really fun. It's got this sort of like pop punk kind of sound to it. My own personal taste, I would say maybe dial back the auto tune a little bit if you can. If it's punk, when I think of like pop punk, I think of like more raw. You know what I mean? So I would say maybe go a little more raw on the lead vocal there. Maybe dial back the auto tune or the vocal tuning a little bit more. It sounds a little bit synthy to for my taste. And then in terms of like the balance is okay, but I'd like to hear like a little bit more guitar and like a fatter, bigger guitar. And kind of like what I was saying earlier, like I can tell you double track the guitars, but I feel like maybe the gain is a little too hot on both guitars, and that's causing the guitars left and right together to sound like a little too fuzzy, if that makes any sense. I mean, there was a couple early albums I did in my early days where, I had the gain cranked to the same level where I would have it on stage. But then in the mix, it just sounds like a fuzz, you know what I mean? So I would maybe focus on bringing out the mid range of the guitar a little bit. Maybe they'll add like a 1 or 2K boost, and then dial back the gain in the guitar a little bit, but bring the guitars up in the mix. And if you have any compression on your guitar parts, I would just take it off or dial it back to like 50%. But otherwise, really fun tune.
Queda temps per reviure la pel·lícula i correm pels carrers. Les coses que t'he promès buscar més d'un per què, que ja no queda res. Ja no queda res i ja no vull res més amb tu. Amb tu. Totes les nits que porto cap per avall, totes les tardes que no podia ni respirar, però ara ja no m'importa si se'm tanca una porta. Ja no m'importa si se'm tanca una porta. I com collons m'he d'enamorar si només penso en que acabarà. Jo mateix em castigo, sóc el meu enemigo. I quan acabarà la culpa i els dubtes i em lio i penso que és el que no he fet bé. Dones voltes i segueixo tan malbé, no estic pas bé. I em lio i penso que és el que no he fet bé. Dones voltes i segueixo tan malbé.
Yeah, great writing, very dynamic, very catchy. Every single section is so short that by the time you get to the next section, it's something new. So in terms of arrangement and composition, like really good job. Again, I need beefier guitars. I need more rock guitars, and I need more rock vocals. Like just dial back that auto tune a little bit, crank up those guitars a little bit, turn down the gain. And I would also maybe just, again, hearing it again, I would maybe pull up the bass in the mix a little bit, maybe 3 dB or so. So yeah, no, great work. Let's move on. We got about 16 minutes left. Let's see how many of these we can get through. And I apologize if I don't get to all of them. There will be other opportunities to do this. So hopefully I'll be doing this like every Friday. Let's see here. Catch the Light. So we got 2 from Barry Nielsen here. Let's check out Catch the Light.
As I find myself walking your street again, hoping to find a reason to keep my head up and not give in the fight that has lasted my life. Build me up to knock me down again, show me I'm real, not just a face from a faded photograph, 'cause I need someone tonight. Yes, I sound you single me out.
Yeah, I mean, beautiful writing. Really, really great. Really great. Uh, stripped down. Like the vocals are really really fantastic. So this is like a less is more situation. You know what I mean? Where like the vocal has dynamics to it. While I say that on one hand, on the other, I feel like I want a little more compression to control just the very loudest notes, but also to bring up some of the softer notes just a hair, just a touch more top end on the vocal, and then bring the whole vocal up, like the lead vocal up, like a 1 dB or a 2 dB in the mix. There's a little amp buzz in that little middle section, but hey, if it makes it sound more organic, if that's the vibe you're going for, which it definitely sounds like, that that may not necessarily be a bad thing. Really beautiful writing. Maybe a little more kick and snare in the drum kit. I like really want to hear those ghost notes. It's got like this. Not sure if it's like 6/8 or 12/8, but it's got like a swing to it as well. I really want to hear all those little ghost notes, those little pattery ghost notes. That's what's gonna keep the rhythm moving forward. But like really beautiful track. I mean, this is like something I could chill out to for sure.
You said my eyes would adjust to the love that I can't take anymore. Where the stars shine, I'll be there to catch the light. Yes, I will. Walking your street again, hoping to find a reason.
Damn. Yeah, that was great. Fantastic work on that. Just beautiful writing. There's some little, I can tell they're not a lead, but there's some little guitar parts here and there that are a little more leady. In the rhythm guitar parts, like maybe just automate those up a little bit just to kind of bring them through a little bit. But otherwise, like fantastic work, like just absolutely beautiful song. All right, we got 10 minutes. Let's see if I can get 2 or 3 more in here. Let's see, catch the light. Okay. Sorry, Cliff. I got 2 more here. We can save them for another day. Michael Dean Moore, Learning to Let Go. Let's check this out. Looks like it's fully mixed just from the look of it.
Underneath the old oak tree, a boy leaves his teddy bear, trading wooden swords for books, 'cause life's pulling him elsewhere. Playground laughter echoes, fading like a summer's glow, learning to let go, oh, learning to let go. Fairy tales are fading fast as dreams grow big and wild. Sunny days turn into nights, farewell my carefree child. High school seems so distant now, goodbye to those you come to know, learning to let go, oh, learning to let go. Life is a river, it flows and it winds. We hold on to moments, but we must leave some behind. Lost toys, old friends, and the golden days of old. It's all a part of learning, learning to let go.
Yeah, what I would do is in the verses, because it's got this kind of like almost like folksy kind of sound to it. I would really, really back off of the vocal tuning in the verse and just make it more natural. You know what I mean? It's if it's got more of a folksy vibe, having less vocal tuning is not going to hurt it. Even if your vocals are a little out of tune, like I'm not a great singer. I try really hard. I do like 50 takes half the time, and my vocal parts are usually, like multiple parts comped together. But like sometimes the takes that are a little out of tune or a little rough or a little more natural sounding will work in the song. And I think in this song, I think in the verse at least, dial back that auto tune or whatever vocal tuning you're using by like 50%, maybe more. Keep it natural, you know what I mean? I mean, listen to Bob Dylan, I mean, the guy wasn't not necessarily a great singer, but the emotion came through better when you sort of squash that down into like a perfect scale. You quantize those notes down to the pitch grid. You kind of maybe lose a little bit of that emotion, a little bit of that rawness that adds, like a vibe to the track. Now in the chorus here, if you want to dial that tuning back up a little bit, I'd still say dial it back a little bit, but I think it works better there because you've got like harmonies and multiple parts. What I was saying earlier on another person's track was maybe add like two more layers like of falsettos, or maybe find someone who can do up an octave and just really tuck those back in the mix. And it's really going to help to separate the vocal character of the first section from the chorus. Again, it's the idea of a scene change where we're going from something a little more stripped down to something a little more polished and big with these backing vocals. But otherwise, like, yeah, it's a really nice tune, very pretty.
Learning to let go.
And little spots like that, you know what I mean? Learning to let go. Like, I would rather hear that with like no vocal tuning or very little vocal tuning on it.
Sweet melodies of our first love, we two have sang that song. Right underneath that same oak tree where everything went wrong. Hearts break, tears fall like autumn leaves and early snow. Learning to let go, oh, learning to let go. Life is a...
One other thing I would do with the drums is I would use a different kick sound, maybe more of like a less clicky kick. It kind of sounds like a metal kick or like a hard rock kick. It's just got this like hard transient to it. I would try to find something that's maybe a little softer, a little more rounder, a little bit more warmer, something that doesn't like, cut through the mix quite so hard. The rest of the mix is pretty good. I do hear some things disappearing in mono, which is not necessarily like, doesn't mean you necessarily have a mono compatibility issue, but maybe play around with some of the panning a little bit more. But let's listen to a little bit more of this one, and I'll try to get one more in here.
river, it flows and it winds. We hold on to moments, but we must leave some behind.
Yeah, I think that kick's just way too. It's too out front. It sounds like a heavy metal kick. I would substitute that for something else. Okay, let's try to get one more. Let's get we have 4 minutes. Let's get one more in here. And I'm just going in order. I saw someone ask if they're randomized. They're not randomized. I can sort them by the order that they were uploaded, which is what I did. So let's see, where were we? We were down here, learning to let go. And we're going to do Velvet Itch, Monsters Under Your Bed. You're going to be the last one for today. I'm so sorry I didn't get to all these other ones. We'll talk a little after we listen to this next one. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to do next week and Fridays from here on out. So let's give this one a listen. Velvet Itch, Monsters Under Your Bed.
I feel my blood freezing inside of me, haunted by voices I don't recognize.
It's got like this dark synthwave kind of sound to it. I really love. I love again. I'm a sucker for the '80s sounds. That bass right there, though, I love the groove of it. I like all the notes. If there's a way in the synth to dial back that filter envelope sweep on it, that if you can dial that back like 50%, I think it'll be even better. So again, sometimes a little bit less is more.
I feel my blood freezing inside of me, haunted by voices I don't recognize. The soothing breeze make me wake up at night. Now every night I find monsters out of my bedroom. No one will come to help, do I yield to what they say? I hear them talking about my life and how everything could be better. Voices of monsters under my bed, with desires of me being dead. Why don't you try now that no one's around? There's something about this life will never give you embrace the reds of skies. Death beneath me, I am the bloodlet. No, it's tendernizing.
Dude, I love this sound. I love that it's so creepy and so 80s at the same time. I really love it. I like the old-timey mic sound. I think it really fits here. Maybe a little more in the top end just so we can hear what you're saying a little bit better. But I love the vibes. I love the minimalistic drums. I also love that when you're cutting back in, it's just like kick, snare, and then the rest of the things come in. So that's a really great effect, like delaying the rest of the instrumentation. Love it. Let's listen a little bit more.
But I have memories to share. You won't take those from me.
Many witnesses have come forward and reported hearing screams late last night that lasted all the way into the dawn. Many survivors have also claimed to have heard voices coming from within their rooms. The number of confirmed suicides has passed 300 in Toronto alone, and it seems that panic is spreading all over the globe. It seems that everyone is scared of sleeping these days. What can you make out of this, Tommy?
Now every night I fight monsters out of my bedroom. No one will come to help, do I yield to what they say? I hear them talking about my life and how everything could be better. Voices of monsters under my bed, with the managed to get into my head.
Yeah, classic. That's great. That's really interesting. I love the vibe on that. It's so unique. Um, One thing I would try maybe on your vocals, in addition to maybe bringing up the top end a little bit, is try adding like a quick tape delay, like a slap delay, just almost barely even there. It just kind of thickens your voice a little bit, you know? Love the movie samples. Love it. Sounds like, you know, something under like a like a horror movie from the 80s or something. So, yeah, fantastic work there. Okay. I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone. First of all, thank you for coming, and thank you for everyone for all of the submissions. I did not even expect we'd have this many. So thank you so much for participating. And if you missed the stream, it should go up on YouTube. It should be recorded, so you should be able to rewatch it later. Um, Let me know in the comments of this video when it's posted if you would prefer to see something that is pre-recorded and prepared, um, or whether like to continue with the live streams, because there's benefits to both. You know, if I do this as like a 2 hour like listening session and I edit it and I can drop the tracks into Logic and stuff and play with frequencies and and play with the track a little bit more. That's one upside, and I bet I can guarantee, because there's a lot of people complaining about the audio quality. I I guarantee if I do like like a prepared video once a week like that, that's like 2 hours long, where I just listen to your tracks. I guarantee you the audio quality will be better, but it will lose the sort of interactivity of the chat and everything. So think about which one you'd prefer to see, and leave a comment in the in the video description below. As far as uploading new tracks for next week, check the channel like maybe Wednesday of next week, and I'll either have a video announcing that I'm going to receive tracks for submission and do an edited video, or I'll let you know that we're doing another live stream and you can upload the tracks again. So um, I'm just kind of doing them as I get them. Like whoever gets their tracks in the inbox first is what we'll do. So um, yeah, it's been fun. Thank you everyone for showing up, and really impressed with all the submissions. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next week. See y'all later.